Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 26th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by Cole Shelton on this Tuesday morning. We don't have a UFC card to preview, Cole, but we got a lot of news to talk about, so I wanted to get you on, man. A lot of odds been dropping for some future fights and stuff, so there's a lot to talk about, Cole. So how's it going, man? I didn't get a chance to talk to you yesterday, Cole. I had Marcel on to do the recap, but I know you enjoyed UFC 257, right?
Yeah, it was good card. Honestly, final two fights are just. We both picked the Chandler upset. I think he should have been the favorite the entire time, but I did not expect that. I did not expect him to go out there and knock out Dan Hooker in the first.
I think it opened at minus 110 each, so it was a pick 'em, right? So I remember when that came out, I think I messaged you and I was like, I really like Chandler in this fight. I just really believe in the guy, man. He's got that explosive KO power. He's got that athleticism. We saw that in the fight. You know, Dan Hooker's performance left a lot to be desired. He hasn't actually said too much since the loss. I don't know if he's released a statement. I don't think he has. It's a tough setback for him, man. You know, Cole, like he travels like halfway across the world to fight and then gets KO'd in the first round. Now he's got to wait a month to see his young daughter, I believe, and his wife. So that's brutal, man. I mean, it's devastating, right? Like what these guys and girls sacrifice to be a world champion, Cole, it's like what normal people like us, we don't ever dream of thinking of doing. You know what I mean? Like what they do on a daily basis for these fight camps and traveling around the world, and especially these days with COVID and stuff. Dude, I mean, at this point, Cole, like we're having a lot of discussion these days about potentially maybe no events in Vegas for a little while now because there's a lot of issues as far as international fighters traveling with this quarantine and stuff. Dana White's saying now that they're not even sure what's going on with the Biden administration. So it's kind of a funny time, Cole, honestly, but I'm glad we at least had that one card. And we're supposed to have like, 4 or 5 cards coming up in Vegas now, like next month. So, you know, that's tentatively the plan, Cole, but are you going to be surprised if something changes and they can't hold these events?
No. And just on Hooker, like him taking this fight was a big, so it was short notice because I was close to the managers, I was talking about it. They wanted this. So they were pushing for this fight because they didn't know because the UFC was talking about gauging Oliveira and Hooker's mansion. Like they did. I don't think the UFC realized what it's like to get back into New Zealand because they were pushing the UFC every single day. Like, tell us if we're fighting or not. Like, at this point, we don't care if you move on, but at least just tell us because they have to book in their quarantines. Then you're impacting like the manager. All the coaches can't get back in. So you're not even just impacting Hooker's life. You're impacting Hooker's family, his coach's family. Like you're impacting like dozens upon dozens of people because you're trying to figure out if you want Hooker to fight Chandler or not. So, and then the thing is like Hooker basically spent like 10% of the year traveling just for this fight because he had to leave a week and a half early, leaving to go to Fight Island. And then he's on Fight Island for 4.5 weeks. So you're already at 6 weeks before he can get back in New Zealand. And then he gets back in New Zealand, has to do 2 weeks. You're at 8 weeks already just traveling for this fight, let alone not even the training, not even any of that. So like, it's just crazy. I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of think that's why Hooker threw in his gloves. I don't think he's retired, but I think he kind of realized like it's a lot to give up to leave my family for 10 weeks just for travel. And then plus all the time I'm gone training that I think he's kind of like, until this blows over, like I wouldn't be surprised we don't see Dan Hooker fight.
Yeah, I agree, Cole. It's a tough situation for guys like in his spot where you have a family, but you also need to quarantine coming from New Zealand where their COVID rates are very low. Right? So what happened?
Ariel just tweeted.
We got breaking. What happened?
Jake Paul will fight Ben Askren in an 8-round pro boxing match on April 17th.
Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. It's official. I mean, we've heard rumors about it. Jake Paul recently said that he had to push the fight back a few weeks, and I guess it's official now. So Ariel, let me get the tweet. I'll put it on the screen here. Ariel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy, eh?
Jake Paul wins.
I see it. Let me pull it up here on the screen. Got it? Yeah. So he doesn't have much else, but we do have some tidbits. Jake Paul will fight Ben Askren, 8-round pro boxing match per Triller founder Ryan Cavan. I got to be honest, man. I've never heard of the Triller app before the Tyson fight. I got to be honest, Cole. Had you or no?
The thing is, since that event, I'm close to like that Ryan guy I've talked to the guys because they got me like Bodoo Jack and stuff. So kind of hoping they can maybe give me Paul and Askren for this one. But the thing is, I kind of figured it was Askren. So Askren, he told me when Chael put that out, he's like, yeah, it's done deal for me. And then I was talking to him like 2 weeks ago, and he said he's heard nothing from Triller. And then when Jake Paul said April 17th, I messaged Ben, and he's quick to respond to me, which is I didn't really expect that. And he just said, normally every single time I ask him, it's just a yes or no. And he said, just have to wait and see. So I kind of thought it was going to be him, but I can't really run anything with just wait and see. So then I messaged Ryan, and he said, it's an MMA fighter. And I said, is he retired? And then I was kind of just trying to see if he was asking. I'm like, are they retired? He said, I'm not going to say that. So then I'm like, well, that just kind of leaves as a Dylan Dennis or Ben Askren. But
we have odds for this fight. Have you seen them?
No.
Yeah, I don't know when they came out. It says here yesterday. So, I mean, they must have just came out. I didn't even notice them. Minus 180 for Jake Paul, plus 150 for Ben Askren.
I agree with that.
And you like Jake?
Yeah. I picked Jake by knockout.
In this fight, yeah. I mean, listen, Ben
Askren is not a stand-up fight. If this is MMA, Ben Askren absolutely destroys Jake Paul.
I mean, that's not even a question, of course. I agree. I just think that maybe, the guy had two fights against two guys that aren't boxers. Like, Ben Askren's a legitimate MMA fighter. He's been training boxing for 10 years, 15 years. So he has some boxing code, but I'm with you. I mean, the chin definitely worries me. I don't know. He's got some quit in him a little bit too. Like after seeing that Maia fight, I just don't know. I mean, he hasn't fought professionally in 2 years, like almost 2 years, right? So it's been a while since Askren's fought. Yeah, I mean, Paul probably wins, but honestly, I had the same reservations against Nate Robinson. I'm like, can he? He's got one fight. Is he going to actually go in there and do what the odds are saying? And he went and did it. So yeah. Speaking of Nate Robinson. Dude, it's pretty bad when Nate Robinson's roasting you, Cole. Like, Conor McGregor. Like, if Nate Robinson's taking a shot at you, like, that's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, like, guys, like, this is gonna be a blockbuster pay-per-view. It's on the same card as his brother, obviously. It's a different card. Those guys, listen, man, you can say what you want about the Paul brothers, Cole. These guys they're living the life, man. They got mansions, they got girls, they got money, they got everything, Cole. And they're gonna have a lot more money after this. And the thing is, if Jake Paul knocks out Ben Askren, like the odds are saying, Cole, that sets him up for like any fight, really, because he beats a top 5 guy that was in the UFC. He was a top 5 guy, Ben Askren, at one point. Top 5
props for?
I don't think so. No props for either of the Paul fights right now. I just see the money line minus 180 plus 150. That's what I'm seeing right now. Bet online. So seems about right, Cole. I feel like it's the same as the Robinson odds. Let me double check that. No, well, yeah, no, Robinson, yeah. Paul opened at minus 170, Robinson plus 140. So very similar odds.
I'm surprised because I would pick Ben Askren over Nate Robinson. So I thought.
Oh, I mean, not even a question.
Those odds were crazy. Those odds should have been way higher.
I mean, I remember when we broke it down, I wasn't too confident in him because he only had the one fight, but you were like, what? You were all over him. I was all over Roy Jones, and he almost pulled it off, man, even though it's such a bad decision if he won.
Nate Robinson didn't train any boxing. He trained it in like 4 months. And his whole game plan was let me run at him with my head straight up, my hands down.
It was bad. And again, he's out there memeing Conor McGregor right now. And he's making fun of himself too, which is funny. So no shame in that. Let's talk about some odds for Poirier, Cole, because listen, man, the guy had an absolutely phenomenal performance. I talked about it yesterday with Marcel. It was amazing. Cole. And again, can't happen to a better guy. Like Dustin is, by all accounts, one of the better guys in the business. It's a guy that's constantly spending time and money to donate to charitable causes. A guy who's really turned his career around in many ways. Like as a featherweight, he was kind of up and down. He lost some fights he should have won, and then he moves up to lightweight. And since then, he's an absolute elite contender. So we have some odds, Cole, for his next fight. We got Babel fan here, Mr. Marcel. What's up? What's up, Marcel? We got some odds for future fights, Cole. We got Dustin Poirier against Charles Oliveira. We got Dustin Poirier versus Khabib, which I don't think is going to happen. We got Dustin versus Chandler, which is definitely a possibility. And then Dustin versus Conor McGregor. Okay, so 2 questions, okay? 2 questions, Cole. First question. Who's most likely going to be his next opponent? Don't even get in these breakdowns, individual breakdowns. Just who do you think will be his next opponent, Dustin Poirier? Because he will be fighting for the belt in his next fight. There's no doubt about it.
Who do I? It should be.
Do both. Do who you think it's going to be and who it should be. Do that.
It should be Charles Oliveira for the belt. I think it's the Conor McGregor trilogy or Michael Chandler because those are the 2 big fights of the UFC. The unfortunate thing is Charles Oliveira deserves to be fighting for the belt. I don't think that Dana White's too high on him. I don't think the UFC brass really thinks he's he doesn't, in Dana White's term, push the needle. He's not a needle mover, whatever
move the needle.
Yeah, that's his common thing. So I don't think Oliveira is that. That's why I think it's going to be the Conor McGregor trilogy or Michael Chandler, because those are the bigger fights.
Yeah, and I think you can bet on that too, and like who his next opponent's going to be. I don't know. It's tough to say, guys. Honestly, after the win, I'm with Cole. It should be Oliveira versus Poirier, just based on if this is a sport and it's supposed to be, but it really isn't sometimes. But if it's a true sport, Cole, it should be the top two guys. And right now, Poirier, he actually just overtook Gaethje in the rankings, which makes I was surprised Gaethje was even ranked above him, considering they had the fight and he knocked him out. But he's number 1 now, and I think Oliveira's number 3, right behind Gaethje. But the thing is, he has an 8-fight win streak, so he's coming off back-to-back wins over Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee in 2020. He looked incredible. 8-fight win streak, guys. I mean, to me, that's worthy of the title shot. So if it was up to me, but I'm not a promoter, I'm a fan and a media member who wants to see what's done right and see I think it's an amazing fight too. I think it'd be an incredible fight. So if it was up to me, I would make that fight, Poirier versus Oliveira. Having said that, Cole, I don't think it's going to happen. I got to be honest with you, Cole. I don't want to see this happen, guys, because quite frankly, I don't think he deserves it. But I think it's going to be Conor, Cole. You know, we talked about it right after the fight, and I said, you're crazy. But the more I thought about it, Cole, I think you're actually right about this one. Just because last night, the pay-per-view numbers came out, Cole. 1.6 million pay-per-views, Cole. I mean, it's pretty damn good, right? Second of all time to UFC 229. That was 2.4 million, by the way, the Khabib fight. So that was crazy. But 1.6 is amazing. The trilogy could even do 2 million potentially. I understand there's a lot of people that are like lower on Conor now because he got knocked out in brutal fashion, and that's understandable. But honestly, Cole, I think it's a big fight. So as much as I do think Oliveira deserves it, I think it's going to be Conor. And I will say this: I love Michael Chandler. I picked him to win. I've been a fan of the guy for 10 years. How is he really in the talk of this title shot? He has one fight in the UFC, guys. One fight against the guy in Dan Hooker, who's a good fighter, but not an elite guy, in my opinion. He never had an elite win. So, except for Gilbert Burns, he does have that win. I'll give him that, but at a different weight class. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be Conor. I don't think he deserves it. I just think the UFC, it's all about the dollar bill right now. Cole, they don't have fans right now. They need as much pay-per-view revenue as they can get, especially with, I mean, we don't even know when this fight's going to happen. And Vegas is up in the air now with as far as holding fights go. There's a lot of question marks with the UFC. I think at this point they just need guaranteed blockbuster fights. That's a guaranteed blockbuster fight. I will say this as well with Chandler. I love the guy. I don't want to throw shade at him because I really like him. But the rankings came out today. He's ranked above Tony Ferguson. I don't agree with that either. Tony Ferguson has 15 wins in the UFC. He's 15-3. He lost to 3 really good fighters. Oh, well, Michael Johnson. I mean, that was a weird fight. By the way, Dustin Poirier, guys, has 10 wins in the UFC, 11 wins in the UFC, and 2 losses. One of them is Khabib, one's to Michael Johnson. That's so weird, Cole. Michael Johnson, he also has 11 wins in the UFC, just like Dustin, right? He also has 12 losses. He has a losing record, and he knocked out Dustin, and he beat Tony Ferguson. It makes no sense. MMA is so weird, guys. By the way, so yeah, I mean, that's just a strange one. But, okay, so, yeah, I think it's going to be Conor. Now, let's get into the actual odds for these fights, like if they actually happen. We'll start with the Conor fight, Cole, because this is the one that I think threw some people off a little bit when the odds came out. I talked to Bet Online, Adam Burns there. He's their odds maker. I talked to him privately when the odds came out, actually before they came out, because I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you have a line for this fight? Because I know people are going to ask me about it. And he said, yeah, I'm thinking 140 for Conor and plus 120 Dustin. And when he said that to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense, because I understand how the lines move with just basically two-way action. And the books – They know Conor's going to get bet on, Cole. He was minus 340. So, yes, he got knocked out, but I can understand why they opened him as the favorite. It's not the first time this has happened. Like, there's been fights like where a guy got finished, like JDS versus Kane, the first one. JDS won as an underdog. The second fight, Kane was the favorite again, dominated him, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Just how about Nate Diaz?
Connor's the favorite again.
Yeah, that one. How about Nate Diaz versus Conor? The first fight, he was the dog, Nate Diaz. He was the dog the second fight, too, if I'm not mistaken. So, it is what it is. As far as like the odds go, it's minus 140 Conor and plus 120 Dustin. I got to be honest, Cole, I see value in Dustin, though. I do, because we just saw the fight and he destroyed him, dude. So, yeah, it's a different fight. The kicks are going to be different. I think you still have to check the kicks. But what were your initial thoughts when you saw that? Like, did you see value in Conor or in Dustin?
I'm not surprised it opened like that. I figured Conor opened as a favorite just because everyone knows Conor's just getting bet on. People, when Conor's fighting, they're going to go, oh, I'm going to watch the fight. I might as well throw some money down to make it a bit more entertaining. Here's $50 on Conor. All those little bets eventually add up. Like the $150 bet's not going to move the line, but would you have thousands upon thousands of people, just casual bettors, throwing 50 or $100 on Conor? That's what makes him that minus 340. I would not be surprised if this fight gets made. Say it's made for like June, whatever. I would not be surprised if Conor's an over 2-1 favorite by the time they step into the octagon.
I guess it's definitely possible. I mean, you look at the odds for the first two fights, he was favored, but I think some people are down on him now because of this loss. I personally think that you got to look at Poirier as a plus money underdog in this fight, but we'll see. I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen. Also, Conor took a lot of damage in this fight. He was on crutches. Like, he's going to be out for a little while. Like, he took a lot of damage in this fight. I don't expect it to happen anytime soon. Maybe this summer at the earliest. And again, it might not be Conor. There's other options. We're going to get to those in 1 second. Let me just get these comments. First from Marcel, a.k.a. Battle Fan. No, Adam, Conor didn't get KO with TKO. Cole, TKO or KO for that fight?
Oh, it was a KO.
Dude, Big John McCarthy's out there saying, no, it's a TKO. He's explaining why. And people were in the comments were like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Like, dude, he was unconscious. He went unconscious. Like, that's a KO. So,
Ariel, I guess, talked to both Paul and Askren. It's like on ESPN. Oh, the trash talk's already started. So he said the fights can happen 185 to 189 pounds. And like Askren said, I know Jake Paul is enjoying pretending to be a fighter. I think on April 17th, he's going to have a rude awakening. I'm going to put his dreams to an end. And then Paul goes, Ben Askren is a 2-time NCAA champion, a world champion, 2 different mixed martial arts organizations, has less losses than Conor McGregor. Me, on the other hand, I started boxing 2 years ago, and I'm still going to knock his ass out faster than Masvidal did. And then
I'll watch it. I'm going to watch the fight. And yeah, Marcel, we know. But we agree with you, Marcel, because there's definitely a KO. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some good trash. They're both good at trash talking. Jake Paul's, listen, dude, I understand he's not everyone's cup of tea, Cole. And I'm not really, like, I watch YouTube, but I don't watch, like, that kind of stuff, like the TMZ stuff-ish, you know what I mean, the gossip stuff. So I didn't really know the Pauls too much until the boxing fights, Cole. I got to be honest, I actually like these guys, man. They're funny, you know. They're doing their thing, and no one's getting hurt. They're just making money, and we're watching it. Well, Nate Robinson's getting hurt. That's the one guy. Kevin Scott, how's it going, Kevin? He says, Conor can draw without a belt. I think they make more money keeping him away from the title fights. Do Dustin Gaethje 2 for the belt. That'd be fun. Like Conor fight Nate doesn't affect the division. What do you think of that, Cole? You think Conor Nate, or you think Nate gets someone else? Because Nate's after calling for a title shot now.
If they don't do Conor Poirier 3, I think that's the fight for Conor. I think Conor next fight is massive. I think he needs to win it.
He has to win, eh?
That's why I think that Poirier fight is risky. I think Poirier Conor is a 50-50 fight. I think no matter you throw him in there at this current stage of their career, I think if you throw him in there 10 times, I wouldn't be surprised if Conor wins 5 and Poirier wins 5.
I'm just surprised the way he lost, man. I gotta be honest, like, cause it seemed like he had the fight in control. The first round, Cole, he looked good in that first round, keeping long, throwing some nice strikes from distance. Dustin Poirier, if anything, like his defense looked a little shaky in the first, but you know, once again, just like the Nate fight, Cole, he kind of got tired, in my opinion. You know, no one's really talking about the conditioning, Cole. The ring rust, I think, played a factor. He had 40 seconds in the last 2.5 years in the cage, so that's a factor, man. And I think that played a huge factor in this fight. The kicks as well, but again, I talked about with Marcel yesterday. Fans don't need to make excuses for this guy. He's one of the most highly paid fighters of all time. I mean, he can handle himself. He's a grown man, you know. He's got other things on his mind. Actually, that's a good question. Do you think any of the stuff outside the cage affected his mental capacity during this fight? Do you think at all, or do you think it's worth mentioning that those stories that come out in the last couple of weeks?
I don't think so. I think it might have played a bit of factor. I don't think it really played much. I don't think he really had a whole lot. Because it didn't really go anywhere. Like, it came out the Monday fight week, and then you didn't hear anything come like even Tuesday. Like, I don't really know how much that. Maybe it did impact him a little bit. Maybe it's hard to say. I just think he's been dealing with that his entire career. Like, people always saying stuff about him, where I think he's kind of have to tune that out now. Yeah,
I agree with that too. I mean, and again, he's actually used to that goal because he's been a big star for a long time. Okay, let's look at some other odds here. So that was Conor and Dustin. Now, what about, okay, well, I don't think this is going to happen at all because I don't think Khabib fights again, Cole. I think he's done, and I don't think he'd fight Dustin. I think there was a 1% chance he might have fought Conor had Conor did something spectacular. Minus 500 for Khabib, plus 385 for Dustin. Is there any value in Dustin in the rematch? You know, the first fight happened, he had the guillotine, he almost had him, but eventually he got choked on himself, and he pretty much got dominated in that fight. So is there any value plus 385? I mean, that's a pretty big number for a guy who just knocked out Conor McGregor.
I don't really see anyone beating Khabib. I think It's just so hard to. His wrestling is just so good. I think the only way you beat Khabib is if you have. I think that's why Conor and Gaethje had a shot, just because they only need one punch and they can knock you out. I think that's the only way you beat Khabib is he comes in for a shot, you just catch him right on the chin and put him out.
Or Chandler too. He has that one punch KO power.
You're not gonna decision Khabib. You're not gonna out wrestle Khabib. Khabib is gonna take you down. There's no question. You cannot stop all the takedowns. So basically, Khabib's gonna win a decision if it goes there, just because of he's gonna win the rounds. The only way to beat Khabib is land that one shot and knock him out. But so far, he's shown a good chin. Like, he took Conor's left hand. He took Gaethje's shots. He didn't even get rocked. Like, I don't really know if anyone has that power to knock him out.
I mean, not only that did he not get rocked, but, he knocked down Conor when they fought. He held his own against Gaethje. He did lose the first round to the kicks. That's fair to say. But the second round, he looked improved. He looked like he made adjustments. So, you mentioned the one-punch knockout. Like, that's the one way to beat him, Cole. I agree, but I do think you could submit him potentially too. I mean, it's MMA, right? So we saw Dustin had that choke pretty tight. What happens if Dubronx gets his neck? Like, then it's probably a wrap, right? So I do think there is some path to victory to beat Khabib, but in general, the guy with that wrestling, Cole, it's amazing. And to be honest with you, I've watched every single fight from Khabib because I remember his very first fight he fought Thiago Tavares, I want to say, didn't he? He submitted him with the rear naked choke. I think that's what he did. Let me double check. My brain looks pretty well sometimes, but it is pretty early in the morning. But I'm pretty sure that was his first fight in Nashville, right? Yes, Kamal Showery's third round submission. I called it, man. Got that memory. That was almost 10 years ago. The only fight that he's had that was ever competitive, Cole, was against Gleison Tibau. The only fight. And a lot of people thought he lost that fight, like a decision. It was a terrible fight where they just pressed against each other against the fence for 3 rounds. It was a horrible fight on the Anderson Chael Sonnen undercard. That fight, Cole, was buried on the undercard for that pay-per-view. It's crazy, like how this guy's basically turned to a superstar. I mean, I've watched him fight for a long time. I saw him fight Pat Healy in Toronto too, on the undercard for Jones Gustafsson, the first fight in the main card, and he dominated him. So I mean, the guy's incredible. But like any fighter, Cole, anyone can lose in the sport. It's just amazing. Khabib's the one guy who hasn't. He's 29-0. I'd like to see him go for 30-0, Cole, but I don't know, man. I just not these fights, not right now. Maybe he'll have a change of heart next year or something. But I think Coley's going to take a while off. So yes, there are odds for this fight, guys. But honestly, you're better off saving your money. I will say this though: I wouldn't bet on the Khabib future line at -500. I would rather take a shot on Dustin at +385, Cole, at like a quarter unit, like a small punch, because he does have what it takes to win the fight. I'm just not gonna pick him outright if that ever happened. Okay, 2 other fights to talk about as far as Dustin goes, Cole. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier -200, Michael Chandler +170. So Dustin's a decent sized favorite, 2-1 favorite. It's an interesting fight. I mean, listen, Chandler was out there. He's talking now. He's saying, I'm going to pressure Dustin. I'm going to put him on his back foot. He won't be able to get me against the fence, where he does his best work. He does it right against the cage, right? He's dangerous there. Chandler is a great fighter. I don't know, Cole. To me, I don't know how you could pick against Dustin in that fight, because it's probably going to take place on the feet. I think Dustin's got a better chin. I think he's got the better cardio. I love Michael. He's got the chance to knock him out in the first round, Cole. But I think if he doesn't get that first or second round KO, he would probably lose, probably late by TKO, just like he did against Will Brooks or something. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that fight? I mean, it's an interesting fight. I think Chandler's live, though. I'm not saying he's going to get destroyed, but it's interesting. What do you think?
It's definitely an interesting fight. I have said for years, I believe Michael Chandler is one of the best, if not the best lightweight outside of Khabib. I think he could give Poirier a lot of problems. Do I think he wins? I'm honestly not too sure. I think values on Chandler. I think that is more of a pick'em fight to me, because if Chandler wrestles, I think his wrestling's better than Poirier's. I think his grappling's better than Poirier's. I think Poirier is the better striker, but Chandler has more power. I think if it stays on the feet, if it goes 5 rounds, I think Poirier wins. If it ends, I think Chandler has the capability of knocking out Poirier, but Poirier's chin, everyone talks about Conor being the hardest hitter lightweight. Poirier got hit with 2 really good left hands by McGregor. One did kind of stun him, you saw his eyes kind of didn't know where he was for a split second, but it's definitely interesting. That fight I'd have to think more about. That thing's a really close fight. That's the fight I'd want to really see. That's the one where if Chandler beats Poirier, then you could say he's one of the best lightweights ever.
Yeah, no, I think he already is. I mean, he's incredible, but we'll see. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, guys. Dana White said that could be the next fight. Like he had mentioned that on Saturday night. Dan Edwards, hey, what's going on, man? He says, you were right about Murdoch, Adam. Thanks, dude. Yeah, I really like him. He said, I called Poirier and Chandler to win, so that boosted my ego. Good call on both guys. We both had Chandler here. Again, I thought that the line was too high in Conor, minus 300, minus 340. Actually, it closed at minus 340. Cole. We said at minus 300 was a little bit high. So, yeah, I mean, Poirier, man, he's just underrated. Here's a great question. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? He says, Ryan J says, is Conor finished?
No.
I got to be honest, man. Me and Cole are a little bit on different ends of the spectrum here. I do think we've seen really big signs of decline from the guy. I mean, like, when have we ever seen him get destroyed like this? Never. Like, even the fights with Nate, he was winning that fight. He got tired on a short notice fight against the bigger guy. There was an excuse for that. When he fought Khabib, he fought the best ever. He got submitted. There's an excuse for that. He just fought a striker and got outstruck and got KO'd. What's the excuse there? Like, people were saying the kicks. Oh, he got kicked in the leg. That's part of MMA. This isn't a boxing match. I was shocked when I saw that argument. It doesn't make sense to me, Cole. If he's going to sit there and take those kicks, he's going to loosen them. So he did. I mean, that's his fault. But it wasn't just the kicks. He also got caught in the chin. He got tired in 2 rounds. He went 7.5 minutes and got exhausted. Had that fight gone to the 3rd round, he would have been brutally knocked out again. So, is he finished? No. I think he could come back even better. Like, we saw what happened the first time he fought Nate, Cole. The second fight, he looked better than ever in that fight. It was a close fight. It was a war. It was a great fight. The second fight was an absolute war. But, this is different. He's an older Conor McGregor. That's the thing, Cole. He took so much time off after that fight with Eddie Alvarez, going to boxing and fighting Floyd, fighting Khabib, getting suspended, having all the issues outside of the octagon. It's not just it's not just losing inside the UFC, Cole. He's also had these issues outside the octagon too. So, is he finished? No. He'll fight again. He might win again. I don't think he'll be the champion again, though. I will say that. I don't see him holding the belt again in the UFC. But I know Cole thinks he's got a pretty good shot of doing so, even this year. But again, it'll depend. We'll see if he's motivated and ready to come back and hungry. He can definitely beat Dustin Poirier. There's no doubt about it. We've seen him beat him, so there's a chance he can win. But the sport changes, man. The sport evolves, and a guy like Dustin, that fight was 7 years ago, Cole. And who's improved a lot since then? Dustin Poirier. He's improved a lot. Let me take this comment from Kevin. I don't think Conor's looked A+ since the Eddie fight. That was a long time ago. Dude, that was the peak of Conor right there. That fight, remember that fight, Cole? Knocked him down like 3 times. Eddie was like the best in the world at the time. Go ahead.
I remember I had a $50 bet with my brother because he thought he doesn't like McGregor that much. He thinks McGregor was overrated. So I remember I bet him for Aldo. I bet him for Alvarez. I bet him both Diaz fights. I lost the first one, but
yeah, of course.
But I remember the second Diaz fight, he thought just Diaz was too much for him because he wouldn't be able to knock him out. I remember Alvarez, he said, Connor's not a lightweight. Eddie will just take him down and stuff. I said, all right, $50. And I remember we were watching that. And then I think the Floyd Mayweather fight is obviously the best and worst thing to happen to Conor.
Yeah,
you cannot pass over $100 million to box. Like, that is the best thing to ever happen to him. That really triggered his superstar. That allowed him to do the whiskey. His whiskey would still be popular. It would not be as popular if he didn't fight Floyd Mayweather and get that fight. You can't say no to $100 million. But then that took him at the peak of his MMA career away from fighting and really cementing his case as one of, like, if he doesn't fight Floyd Mayweather, continues on a lightweight, defends his belt like 2-3 times and says, I'm retired, he goes down as one of the best ever. Now I don't even know if he would be in the top. Like, could you make an argument for Conor being in the top 10 of all time?
Like pound for pound fighters of all time? Yeah.
Like,
I think you can, because he's won 2 belts in the UFC, but he never defended his titles, not once. So I think that's a knock on him. He also has 3 losses now in the UFC? Like, yeah, he's an all-time great, Cole. I mean, listen, he's done more for the sport than a lot of fighters have. I think everyone's going to agree with that. But at the end of the day, his record's 9-3. I mean, is that really all-time great? I'm not sure. I mean, there's guys with better records like Khabib, GSP, etc. Anderson's not anymore. But.
The thing with Conor too is he's in such a weird spot. I think Conor fans overrate him, but I think people that hate Conor underrate him.
Yeah,
I think no one really truly gives him is how good he is. Like, everyone that hates Conor thinks he's not good, but you don't knock out Jose Aldo. You don't knock out Eddie Alvarez.
I know. I agree with that, Cole. Like, he's a fantastic fighter.
But then the people that are Conor backers thinks he's a god and can't lose, and you just need to touch him once. And then every time he loses, makes all those excuses like, oh, this wasn't motivated Conor or whatever. But
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, there's got to be like an even medium for him. I feel like I do have that with Conor because I got to be honest, guys. I've been high on him ever since I saw him back in Cage Warriors. I remember when he fought, what's the guy's name? Ivan Buchinger in December 31st, 2012. So on New Year's Eve in Ireland. And I remember that fight because people were like, holy crap, this guy looks like the next. People were saying, he looks like the next Nate Diaz. That's what everyone was saying on Twitter. I remember that. Costa posted the GIF. And I was like, damn, he looked good. And I remember he fought Brimage. I picked him there to win by knockout. And ever since then, I've loved the guy. So I remember showing people in my gym back when the Brimage trial. I was like, guys, check out this guy. He fought in the undercard of the Musasi. He fought in the undercard of Musasi versus Ilir Latifi, Cole. Yeah. I was telling everyone, I was like, hey, guys, check out this guy with his knockout. I remember telling my friend at the gym back when I used to train MMA, and he was like, who is this guy, man? Who is he? Now we know who he is. I mean, the guy's incredible, but he is not without his flaws. By the way, I love this guy. Don't get me wrong, but you go to his Wikipedia and you look at there's a tab called Controversies, Cole. It's full of stuff outside the game, guys. Ever since 2016, ever since that last fight with Eddie Alvarez, driving offenses, pleaded guilty to speeding. I mean, that's not a huge deal. It says he was disqualified for 6 months. They must have been going pretty fast. The Bellator incident where he had jumped the cage, right? The bus attack incident was another one. The incident with Khabib jumping outside the cage, I mean, that was kind of both sides' fault, I think. The sexual assault allegations, Cole. The Florida robbery with the cell phone, Cole, where the body cam footage came out of him being arrested or whatever. The Dublin pub assault. The Corsica arrest. I mean, this guy, like, if you look at his Wikipedia, he's a true sporting icon because you look at like a lot of famous people, like they have these tabs on their Wikipedias. You check it out, like controversies and arrests and all this stuff. That's all happened since the Eddie Alvarez fight. Like, that was in November 2016, Cole. And since then, 3 MMA fights and 1 boxing match. That's it. So I think all that stuff has played a factor in his decline. He's 32 years old now. Again, I'm the same age as Conor McGregor, which I always thought was pretty cool because he's actually, 2 months older than me, I think? Yeah, July 14th. So I've always been the same age as him, and it's always been kind of cool, like seeing a guy the same age as me, literally, while I was covering the sport, fighting in the sport, and doing well. It was always kind of cool to me. But at the same time, 32, it's not old in general, but it is getting older for an athlete in that division, especially a guy like Conor, Cole, who has played around the weight classes. He's cut weight a lot too. There's a lot of questions about what weight class he should fight in next. We'll talk about that in a second. It'd be cool to see, by the way. I think it will be at 155 for a vacant belt, but it would be cool to see that trilogy in a third weight class, Cole. That'd be pretty cool. Now, I've got a lot of questions here. Let's get to them right now, Cole. I want to start with Daniel. I'll go with Daniel first. So he says, I didn't think Poirier actually looked his best. I think the Conor rematch would be a toss-up. To be honest with you, I think, Poirier had the win. He got the win, but the first round didn't look that great, Cole. I got to be honest. Like, he was getting hit a lot, shaking his head, going like, okay. But I think he was also trying to get into the fight, get in the rhythm. Conor should have went for broke probably because he gassed out 2 minutes later. He says Conor's durability is in question. I agree with that. I think his cardio's in question, but he's got the power too. We all know that. Babel fan, get yours now with Marcel. He says he wouldn't even put in the top 25. Really, Marcel? He says most popular, biggest draw, not even top 25 all time. Dude, he's won 2 titles in two different divisions. He's beaten Eddie Alvarez.
Look at his resume.
He beat Donald Cerrone. He beat Nate Diaz. He beat Chad Mendes. Like, it's pretty good, right, Cole?
His resume is one of the best ever. Who has wins over Poirier, Holloway, Aldo, Mendes, Alvarez, Diaz?
Holloway too. I forgot him completely. I remember that fight. I mean, that was when they were both young, but yeah. That fight, and he was injured in that fight. He blew his knee out and still won that fight. So yeah, his resume is incredible. So is, by the way, Poirier's resume is even better in my opinion. It's incredible. Well, they're both pretty much equal because Poirier's got the win over Max and Conor too, Cole. Plus he's got the win over Pettis, Alvarez. Like, very similar actual resumes, but Poirier also got the Gaethje win, which was huge as well. Let me get this comment from Ryan. He says, Poirier wants to fight Nate. What does that do for Poirier? A bit of a useless fight, you ask me. I think he just wants to win from Diaz. Dude, it's money, right? I think that'd be a big fight. When I saw that tweet that Nate made, Cole, I got to be honest, it got me excited for that fight. Would you watch that fight?
I don't really see the point of it. Like, obviously, they're supposed to fight at UFC 230. If it's because Poirier's next fight has to be for the belt. Nate Diaz does not. There is about 17 probably lightweights that deserve a title shot before Nate Diaz. So if Poirier goes, all right, I don't have to fight for the vacant belt. You can do Chandler Oliveira for the vacant belt. I just want this fight first. And if I win, I'll fight for the belt. Then you can do it. But Poirier Diaz, if it happens next, cannot be for the belt. Just because what happens if Diaz wins? You think Diaz is going to defend his belt? that guy is just going to be a hassle. He's going to say, all right, I want Conor. I want this much money. Or I just want that. Like, and I don't think the UFC would give Nate Diaz a title shot right now. Just everything, like how hard he's been to deal with.
Yeah, he doesn't fight that often, right? And the guy's a big draw. Like you said, the Derek Lewis Cormier card, he was supposed to fight Poirier on that card, Cole. Isn't it funny, Cole, how Poirier was the guy calling out Nate that time, and now it's Nate calling Poirier out. All of a sudden, Nate's the one that's got to call guys out because I'm not saying he's irrelevant because he's not. He's still a big star, Cole. But when was the last time he fought? A year and a half ago against Masvidal. So it's been a long time. I'm going to get to your comment in 1 second, Marcel. I just want to get this last comment from Daniel. He says, he was talking to Ryan. He said they rejected the Hooker fight. He's playing hardball. Yeah, that's true as well. But I don't blame him. I mean, like, these guys need to make as much money as they can. So as far as hardball at the UFC call, I'm all for it. I'm all for them playing hardball with Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, and Hunter Campbell. No problem with that. Kevin Scott, definitely not top 10 of all time. He's very good, not great. I don't know about that, guys. I think you guys are being a little bit harsh on Conor. To me, he belongs in the Chuck Liddell Ronda tier. I mean, isn't that top 10 though, Cole? Like, he says he's finding it hard to find 10 better fighters. Yeah, but I would put Chuck Liddell in the top probably 10, top 15. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, there's a lot of good fighters over the years. There is, but what Conor's did for the sport has been amazing. And again, the quality of wins is high. The problem is the 3 losses, Cole. You know, here's the thing, Cole, and you're right. Remember you said earlier about him losing again? Cole, at some point, you know, when your guy keeps losing, that mystique goes away. And I feel like it's kind of gone away for him a little bit after getting knocked out by Poirier, a little bit. But I think he could win it back with another win. Having said that, Cole, he goes in there and loses again. Cole, he gets knocked out or finished again. I'm not sure if there'll be as much of an appetite for people to shell out 65 American. Was it 90 Canadian? Was that the price on?
No, it's still 65 Canadian.
65 Canadian. Okay, I saw someone saying $90. I was like, really? What the hell? That's like a boxing pay-per-view. I think actually the Floyd fight was like, wasn't it like $100? I think the Floyd fight.
Yeah, it was $100.
It's 100, right? They don't blame them. I mean, they sold what, 2.5 million. So I'm gonna get this comment from Marcel. He says, never defended the belt. Fights never when he got something to lose. Only when he got something to gain. Amazing striker. Second belt, never got a chance. I mean, he didn't defend it. You're right. I agree.
I think, but the Diaz fight, I think that has a lot to lose when he lost it. Diaz wasn't really a big star. He was supposed to fight for the lightweight title, and then he takes this welterweight fight against, like, Diaz became a star after he fought McGregor. Like, Diaz was not. He was a known name. He was not a household name before he fought Conor. That was one. But the thing is, like, I see the next time, and it's way harder to climb your way up in a division, but he climbed up featherweight. He beat every single featherweight that was supposed to be the best featherweights ever. Like, he beat Holloway, he beat Mendez, he beat Aldo. Like, he climbed, like, by the time he fought Aldo, he had already cleared out the entire featherweight division. Like, there was not a featherweight he really hadn't fought.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so last fight for that, we'll get to some other stuff, but we didn't talk about this fight yet. Bronx versus Poirier. And minus 150 for Poirier, plus 130 for Bronx. Do you think he's got a chance? And he could submit him, right?
I'd still go Poirier. I still just have a hard time trusting Charles Oliveira.
So do I, because I still feel like he's going to have one of those fights where it doesn't go his way and he quits, kind of, right?
Like, if this is a fight that goes into that 4th, 5th round, like, what's Oliveira going to look like when he's starting to get tired, starting to get hit up, like, pieced up? Like,
I mean, listen, his cardio looked unreal in his last 2 fights, so
yeah,
it's possible. You know, since he's another guy, Cole, since moving to 155 where he's not killing himself to make 145, he has looked more durable, just like Dustin has. But I'm just not convinced he would be able to win that fight because as good as he has looked on the feet, Cole, I think Dustin would box him up on the feet, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I was surprised Tony wasn't.
And I think Poirier's takedown even is good enough to where you can stop. Like, Oliveira is not the best wrestler. Like, that, the grapplers are never the best wrestlers. But, like, Damian Maia was the first real grappler that really started training wrestling. That's like, I'm just gonna only get this fight down to the ground. Oliveira doesn't have the best entries on his takedowns, where I think Poirier can stuff, and on the feet I think Poirier would pick him apart. Yeah,
I agree. But I just want to get to Marcel's comment here. It says it says it was a welterweight fight that he had nothing to do with title implications. What a majority decision. That's against Nate. Thank God lightweight title shot. Come on now. He clearly didn't want to fight Frankie. Should have been Frankie versus Conor and not Chad versus Conor. When he wanted to fight Frankie was always prime. Completely disagree. Yeah, I don't know who said he was top 10. I don't think it was me that said it. I'm just saying that I think he's closer to top 10 than some of you guys were saying. But again, I'd have to look at the list. Yeah, Cole, you were the one who said it. Actually,
I think he's for sure top 25. They're saying he's not even top 25. I would.
No. He said that. Marcel, come on, Marcel.
But the Diaz fights, though, he was already getting a lightweight title shot before the Diaz fights. Diaz stepped in for RDA when Conor.
Yeah, exactly. That was a short notice fight. He took the fight. He didn't have to take the fight. He took it. Again, I'm not here. I'm not a Conor apologist at all. We talked about this yesterday, Marcel. I am not by any means, but I just think the quality of the wins he does have are very high. Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez, Cole, Jose Aldo, Nate. Like that's pretty good, right, Cole?
And that was the peak of Jose Aldo. Like he beat Jose Aldo at the very best.
But I will say this, he wanted to be, I don't want to say greedy, but I agreed. Greed played a factor. He wanted to be greedy and leave MMA at the prime of his career to go box Mayweather. And Marcel's going to send the 25 fighters. Please, I'd love to see it, Marcel. Because to me, it's like I can't think of 25 guys who I'd say are Conor. I really can't.
There's only a couple.
I think you could definitely think of 10 guys. I think that's fair. Cole, I think you might be – I don't want to say you're overrating, Cole, because it's your opinion, obviously. But
I think you can put them anywhere from 9 to like 15, I think. After 15, I think it's – I don't really know if there's 15.
And again, I have to look at the list, guys. Cole's the one saying it's top 10. I'd have to look. For me, I wouldn't put him on the same level as Khabib, GSP, even Anderson Silva, Fedor. Like those guys, like Demetrius Johnson, possibly.
Those guys are all ahead of Conor.
Yeah, Demetrius too. You think, or because he had all those title defenses, but again, the level of competition wasn't that high in my opinion. I don't think he was beating great guys, and then he fights Henry and he lost the second fight, right? So he's a guy. It's Cole. Marcel, we talk about this all the time. The pound for pound thing. It's dude. I mean, it's a losing argument, Cole. You can't win that argument. So. Let's move on to some other things, guys. I'm going to take these last two comments, and then we're going to move on to some other stuff. We only got 50 minutes left, 20 minutes. Daniel Edwards, Conor, Poirier, and Ferguson decayed so much. I could see Oliver being a bit fresh and actually being Poirier. It's possible, dude. He looks pretty damn good. I got to be honest. He's looked good. Kevin Scott, here's how you can tell he had nothing to lose versus Nate. He had lost and didn't negatively impact him in the least. Might have even increased his popularity, possibly. But I remember I was at a bar for that fight. I was with my friends. Dude, the people were cheering for Conor when he walked out, but when he got submitted, people were cheering for Nate. Nate became the star that night. Then Conor also became a star. So it was like the UFC basically created two huge stars that night in many ways. I know Conor was a big star before, but I don't know about afterwards. Babel fan never gave Aldo a rematch. Would have loved to see that rematch. Not a short notice. Babel fan, Demetrius Johnson is definitely above Conor. And wait, one sec. And Kevin says Amanda Nunes is above Conor as well. She's the true GOAT. And Babel fan threatened to come to Canada. Dude, you got your own issues to worry about in the Netherlands, man. We talked about today, Marcel. I sent Marcel a DM. I'm like, dude, please don't die. I need you to host my podcast on Thursday. Please don't let the rioters get you. Cole, do you want to comment about the Demetrius and Amanda Nunes comments there?
I still think Conor has better wins than both of them. What's to me?
And by the way, I don't want to put women in the same categories, man. I think they should be two different.
So what would you say Demetrius' best win is? Horiguchi,
Henry
Cejudo.
Yeah.
So his top three, I'd say, were Benavidez, Horiguchi, Cejudo. I would pick Aldo above all three of them as better than all of them. I think Poirier, Holloway, Alvarez.
I mean, those three right there. Poirier, Holloway, and Aldo.
It's better than any win Johnson has.
It's damn good. But again,
I don't really think title defenses mean a whole lot because
I think they do, Cole. I really do think they do. That's why.
Look at who Johnson is defending his belt against: Tim Elliott, Wilson Hayes, Ray Borg.
I agree. When you're looking at, I think when you're comparing Demetrius to GSP or someone like that, then you look at the quality of competition. But in general, I think he had 12 defenses, right? Like that's pretty damn freaking good, man. And a lot of people thought he even won the fight with Cejudo. So, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Mighty Mouse fan because I don't know, I just didn't get along. Me and him just never saw eye to eye. We didn't have the same personality during his run in the UFC. It is what it is. Just never really listen, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's boring because I think he had some great fights, great performances. But at the general, Cole, I wasn't the biggest fan of the guy. And for me, he's not really in that conversation. But I do know a lot of people do consider him a top guy because of all title defenses. So to me, those matter. But why don't you think they matter, Cole, the defenses? Isn't that the hallmark of a champion?
They do matter, but when you're beating a sub 500 UFC record, Tim Elliott, I don't think that does anything for you.
I like this comment from Babel fan. It says, does, bro, because you have something to lose. Great point, though. I mean, Tim Elliott won his title shot off the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm not mistaken, right? So in many ways, he probably shouldn't even got one. But you're right. I mean, what does beating him really mean?
Or beating Ray Borg, who had a sub 500 UFC record. Wilson Hayes,
yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah. listen, I think we should get back to some other stuff, and we'll continue the argument maybe tomorrow when Marcel comes on. Marcel, when you come tomorrow, bring your 25 fighters. I'd like to go through this list with Marcel. Cole, you can jump in the comments, and then it's going to be the opposite tomorrow, okay? Let's talk about some other stuff, Cole. I mean, I just mentioned the rankings, but again, I saw them coming out today with the pound-for-pound list and stuff. Conor's really dropped down, Cole, and the lightweight rankings came down. Conor's number 6 now. He's actually underneath Chandler and Ferguson. I don't agree with that, Cole. It should, if you have Ferguson above Conor by 1 spot, I'm okay with that. But the other, Cole, I don't know about Chandler being above these guys. Above Conor now too? What do you think of that?
I think I have no problem. Ferguson, Conor, whichever one you want above. I think they're kind of an equal. Like if you put Conor above, I have no problem. If you put Ferguson above, I have no problem. I think Chandler's underneath both of them.
Just 1 spot underneath both of those guys, and then Hooker would be underneath. So if you put McGregor 5, Ferguson, or McGregor 4, Ferguson 5, Chandler 6. If you do Ferguson, Conor, Chandler, I just think Chandler's underneath both of them right now. Yeah, I agree. I have the exact same rankings, but again, it's the UFC rankings, guys. I mean, they make you scratch my head. They make me pull my hair out. Babel fan Thursday. Yeah, sorry, Marcel. I didn't mean tomorrow. I meant Thursday. Thanks, buddy. Marcel will be here Thursday, guys. He's going to bring his top 25 list. We'll go through it. We're going to have Cole in the comments.
I got to think of 25 now because
I'm going to think of my 25 now. Damn it, you guys. Damn it. Daniel Edwards, Babel fans and comedian today. Demetrius doesn't have the best wins. Skill for skill, one of the best ever. Quality competition is out there. Dude, agreed. I mean, again, you look at a guy like GSP, Cole. Look at who he fought. Killer every fight, Two divisions. John Jones. I mean, I'm talking about the GOAT. I forgot even John Jones. I mean, to me, he's still, one of the best. But I will say again, for me, there's a few different factors when I talk about like the GOAT and stuff. Number of wins, quality of wins, number of title defenses. There's some other factors too. I do think PED suspicions are something you can keep in mind. That's why if people say GSP is the best, I have no problem with that over Jones. I still think Jones is he's the best fighter I've ever seen, Cole, but the PED thing does kind of screw it up a little bit. So it's interesting. You guys are hilarious today, man. And Battle fan, listen, man, if you don't have DJ in your top 15, don't agree with me.
He's my top 15.
He's in my top 15. Marcel, again, all 3 of us are going to put our list. Daniel Edwards can have his list. Kevin Scott can have his list. We'll talk about it on Thursday. Let's move on to a few other things here, Cole. Did you see this footage of Dana White freaking out with Hunter Campbell? Now, dude, what the hell? Okay, in a situation like that, what do you think they can do when the referee's refusing to stop the fight, when the corner won't throw the towel in, but you're watching the fight, and you can clearly see the guy's getting his ass kicked, and it's potentially a life-altering beating. Like, MMA fighters haven't died, I don't think, from beatings. They've died from weight cuts. We've seen – how many boxers have we seen? Every year a boxer dies. Cole, multiple boxers die from getting the shit kicked out of them. Dana White was very worried. He said that this guy could die. So in that case, Cole, what can happen? There could be a commission member that throws the towel in. Could Dana White throw the towel in? Like, it's such a tough situation because you can't take away the win from Kattar, the chance to fight for the win if you're UFC or a third party. But at the same time, Cole, in a fight like that, where guys, he landed 444 significant strikes, he'll never be the same. What can happen in a situation like that when the corner's refusing and the referee's refusing to throw a towel? You guys tell me too. I want to know what happens. What do you do?
See now that referee that does the instant replay, I wonder if he has the ability, if you let him on the outside being able to stop a fight, because he's still a referee, he's still a commissioner.
That's interesting. Yeah, like another referee.
Yeah, just because he does the instant replay. I wonder if he can say, "All right, I'm stopping this."
It opens up so many like cans of worms, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because just say the guy wasn't out. Just say they thought he was knocked out or something. I know it's a different spot where it's a cumulative beating, right? But just say they did stop it. And Calvin's like he protested after. A tough spot, Cole.
I also think Urbine is not as good as a ref as he. That fight should have been stopped. He messed up on
Marina Rodriguez and
he makes a lot of mistakes. That fight, though, I don't know why his corner wouldn't throw it in. Like,
I agree, dude, and I really like Tyson Chartier. I know you've talked to him, like you've talked to Calvin, obviously. Have you talked to Calvin in terms of a text or anything, or just letting him be? This guy, he's going to need probably 6 to 8 months.
I would be surprised if he doesn't fight again this year.
He might not fight again this year. Yeah, he's going to take at least 6 months off, I'd say. I really like Calvin, though, man. He's like a true fighter, dude. When he walks to the ring, I'm like, damn, this guy's a badass, dude. And just the beating, it's just hard to watch, Cole. As a fan, like we love watching guys put on great performances, Cole. What was the difference between stopping the fight in the fourth round and letting go of the decision?
I think he could have stopped it in the third when he was up
round.
against the cage. When Holloway landed that elbow, what was it, at the end of the second? You kind of knew that was the beginning of the end. Then the third round, he rocked him again. The entire fourth round, Kattar was on wobbly legs. Like if you told him to walk a straight line, stop fighting, walk a straight line, he wouldn't have been able to.
I agree, and I think Hunter Campbell said the same thing. That's what we were saying. Like when he went and had that barrage against the fence, he threw some elbows, and Kattar's just like this. He's kind of just wobbling. He was covering, but is that really intelligent defense? I'm not sure. If you're going like this and the guy's elbow's getting right through, like, is it intelligent defense? I don't know. Let me get these comments here. Cameron Miller, he says, I never liked Herb. Herzog's the best ref in my eyes. Herb used to be one of the best. I don't think he is right now, but Jason Herzog is right up there. And think about Jason. He's one of the most honest refs. Remember the fight with Anthony Smith, Cole? He went on Twitter and apologized. He's like, I'm going to learn from this. It was a bad stoppage by me. And that's another situation where, again, Mark Montoya, a great coach, just like Tyson Chartier, should have stopped the fight. You got to save your fighter, guys. Seriously, like, if a guy's losing, Cole, if they're losing, not only are they losing 10-9 every round, but 10-8, 10-7 rounds, and it goes to the fifth round, like the Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer fight, just save your fighter the extra beating. They don't need to take those punches. That could be the difference between, an extra couple years at the end of their careers or not. I'm going to get these comments here. Daniel says, Marcel, you're cracking me up. Marcel says, if Jones would be a ballerina, the dude would be the best, complete freak of nature, once in a lifetime athlete. This guy's hilarious. He says, every time I see Herb Dean F up, I remember Dalloway of Mitataliev. That was one of the worst late stoppages of all time. Actually, I don't think either of those guys ever fought again, right? I don't think they've ever fought since then. Maybe Dalloway did.
Yeah, he fought in Risen, got knocked out by...
That's right, by Yuri. Oh, my God, poor guy.
Which is the stupidest night. Why would you ever want to put CB Dalloway against Yuri Prohaska?
I know, that was a joke when we remember that line was like minus 1,000 or something. Now, he's got 3 best refs. Mike Beltran, man, he's great. Jason Herzog, great. Mark, dude, this guy was one of the best refs last year. He's really become a good ref. So I agree with that list. I really like Mike Beltran, the guy with the huge Yosemite Sam beard or whatever, the mustache thing. I love that guy. He's a great ref. Again, where it was Herb Dean's trying to catch a body in there, gives him no room for excuses. Babel Fan says Bertataliev signed with Bellator, but he got 2 years Sada suspension. Oh my God. Kevin Scott, this is the last question I'll take from these guys, and then we'll go to some other stuff. Cole, we got 5 minutes left. Kevin Scott, wish the new outside replay ref take a big role in stopping the fight. The in-cage ref is too much to keep a track of. Dude, refereeing in MMA is such a brutal thing. Like, it's tough. Kevin Scott says, how would a mercy roll if this fight's up 5 points and the 5-rounder, 3-rounder just ended? By the way, there's one other thing I wanted to quickly mention. We were talking about the scoring fights and stuff yesterday, Cole, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and get abused. And it's true. The other thing I was thinking is, like, the professional, someone was like, well, you give shit to the real refs, the real judges all the time. And I'm like, I know. Number one, they're getting paid to do it. They're getting paid. For what I heard, I talked to a ref before, they get paid like $1,000 per event. So it's not bad. They usually score. Here's the other thing, Cole. Did they score 12 fights, Cole? They score 2. They score 2 fights. So when you're doing 2 fights every couple months, it's a lot different than a guy who's in his bedroom watching 12 fights every Saturday. So that's just another thing I wanted to mention there, because a lot of people, again, give me shit, and I totally understand if the scorecard you disagree with, but there's other factors. You can't compare me to a real judge. Battle fan wants to apologize. There's so much fighting going on today. It's because of the riots, Marshall. That's what's going on, man. You're all like geared up. 2 other things, Cole. Gabi Garcia. She wants to fight Kayla Harrison. Do you think, can she even make 155? Like, remember that fight she had against that 50-year-old Japanese woman, and she weighed in like 220 pounds or something? What was her weight for that? I gotta check. What was it? I don't
really pay much attention to Gabi Garcia, because all her fights
107 kilograms. Isn't that like 220 pounds?
Yeah, all her fights are just
235. Dude, she weighs as much as Marcel, man. Like, Marcel, you can go fight Gabi Garcia. Get your ass kicked.
Yeah, Marcel gets there.
Oh my God. No, I mean, listen, she's got some hype. She hasn't fought since 2018. It's been a while, but she's got some hype, and it'd be a fun fight, but kind of a joke. It's official, Cole. I just saw that ESPN tweet on Twitter. Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. It's official. April 17th. Sherdog reported it. You know what's funny, Cole? Sherdog reported it. I feel like no one saw that tweet. Then I saw it, and I was like, whoa, no one saw this. Posted on BJ, and then all of a sudden everyone's talking about it. So, like, we used to work there. They need to do a better job of, like, getting their breaking news out there to a bigger audience, because it was just like a regular tweet. Like, no one saw it. It didn't say breaking or anything. What are your thoughts? You talked to Waleed. That's what I want to ask you about. You talked to Waleed. Did he talk to you about this fight? I know he confirmed it. What do you say about this? And what do you say about Davison? Because I know you asked him about his other client as well.
No title. They were disappointed with that. They thought there should have been an interim just because they don't know when Adesanya is coming back. I think he could have made a case for an interim title.
There it is.
It's.
I think it should have been for an interim belt because Adesanya was fighting the month before. So why not? You know. Actually, Cole, it wouldn't be surprising if they changed their mind and made it a vacant belt.
And you could still keep it on free TV and do an interim title fight. Like, you don't need this as a pay-per-view to do. And like, it's definitely. And then, but he said they were both promised Costa and Whittaker winner fights Adesanya, or if Adesanya vacates, winner fights someone for the belt. I would not be surprised if Adesanya beats Blachowicz. And then they tell him, all right, what are you going to do? You either defend 185 or defend 205. And if he says, all right, I'll stay at 205, try to get John down, then I would be surprised if this is end up being a vacant middleweight title fight if Adesanya vacates the belt.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. That could. I feel like, again, they should have did the same thing with the Conor and Dustin fight. They should, as soon as Khabib was like, I'm not sure, they shouldn't have been like, okay, we'll take a shot on this. They should have taken the belt away.
Fight for the belt.
Exactly. So what was the problem with taking the belt away or creating another interim belt? How many times have they created an interim belt when Khabib was champ? Like 3 times, right? Like Tony won one and Justin won twice, I guess. Twice, yeah.
Justin won one too.
Yeah, right? So it's, I don't know. Okay, we'll get these comments. We got 2 or 3 minutes left. Babel fan still cheers me up to see that pissed off grandma against Gabi when she missed weight. Yeah, that was actually, I think she was like in her 50s, man. You gotta stop that. I like freak show fights, but that's a little bit too out there for me. Judge Kevin Scott, the judges should rotate every round, every fight. I don't know about that, Kevin. I mean, I think they got to stick to one fight. But again, you know, the professional judges get paid really well, Cole. They affect people's like livelihoods. I feel like there's some fans out there that think guys like me and Marcel are scoring these fights online affect these fighters. We don't. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm going to walk away from this because, you know, Cole, if remember we worked for Sherdog before. We used to score the fights, Cole. There was a fight between Trinaldo and Alex Hernandez, which was a terrible fight. And everyone said that we were wrong because we scored it for Hernandez. He got the decision. Remember, Cole? Yeah. But I accepted that criticism. I accepted the abuse we caught because we were getting paid to do that. But if I'm just volunteering, I'm like, screw it, man. Cole, you're welcome to take my volunteer position. Would you like it, Cole? You're welcome to. Cole's
like, I have to pay attention to every fight.
Dude, I do enough as it is. And I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm going to walk
There's some fights. The Sarah Moraes fight, I literally told you, I'm like, I turned this off. There was a hockey game on, I think.
I know.
I'm like, I'll watch the hockey game. I'll check on Twitter when this fight's over.
I know. Okay, so we got 2 minutes. I'm going to take these last couple questions. That's it. Kevin Scott, don't like how the judges carry bias from one round to another. Yeah, that's interesting. Theo Gate, hey, what's going on, man? Jake Paul versus Ben Askren got announced. We talked about very beginning of the show, my man. So please go back to like, I think 2 minutes in, and Cole had the breaking news from Ariel. Last question for the day. Marcus Williams, if Kevin Holland's a spectacular finisher with Derek Brunson, do you see Holland getting Adesanya before the Robert Costa winner? I think he could fight the Robert Costa winner for the belt. I think they could like push him up or like fast track him, they say. I'll be honest, guys. I don't know if Adesanya is going to fight at 185 anymore. Well, I think once he does, because he's bulking up too for 205, it'll be hard for him to get back down.
And he already cleared out the division. Like, what's next? Is he going to rematch Whittaker, Costa?
Again, he's got Holland. Holland's a new fight, but
and Till. Those are the only 2 ones. But
and Hermanson. I guess there's a few fights.
He beats. I would be confident he beats Till because Till's a stand-up guy.
There's Cannon. There are some fights, Cole, but I know what you're saying. Like those guys have lost. Like we've seen.
And they've lost to guys he already beat. I know MMA math doesn't work, but if he's like destroying these guys and they're going out and destroying the guys, the other contenders, like it. I don't really. I think 205 is a lot more interesting matchups for him, and I think if he beats Jan, I wouldn't be surprised if John says, or hear me out. Adesanya wins 205.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll talk about that.
John becomes heavyweight champ. Adesanya moves up to heavyweight, fights John.
I think it's possible. And Berryman's talked about his coach. We'll talk about that Thursday. Okay, cool. Last comment, guys. Yeah, whereas I love the podcast reminding the Gabi Garcia weight miss fiasco. Absolutely. Cole, plug yourself. Let's go here.
Twitter, Alcohol91. Not much stuff this week. Kind of quiet week. Talked to Ben Saunders about his free agency, so that'll be up. I talked to Villanueva last night about his win, so just that stuff. Anything else is always on my Twitter.
For me, on Twitter, at MMAOB please follow me, guys. I'm always there to talk about MMA. Anytime you want to talk, just shoot me a DM. I mean, Marcus does all the time. Marcel does all the time. Kevin sends me emails. So I'm always there to talk about the sport with you guys. I love it. The podcast, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 10 a.m. right here at MMAOddsmaker.com. It's on our YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere, Anchor, anywhere you can get a podcast. That's where you can find it. I'm also available at bjpenn.com, as is Cole, and MMARings.net, where I have an article on Dustin Poirier coming out, I think, today. And then there's one at Oddsbreaker where I also have a Poirier future odds article. So, guys, back Thursday at 10 a.m. with Marcel, and we're going to go through our top 25 list, apparently, of the best fighters ever.